talked about pumpkin stems. We talked about how to create different types of pumpkin stems, thinking outside the box, just using sticks from your backyard. We talked about how to make them out of craft paper, how to make them out of jute. We talked about glass stems. We talked about modeling paste, or this is actually Sculpey clay stems, all that stuff. And we kind of demoed it on this adorable little textured pumpkin art that I had already painted. So I was just painting just here in the studio alone to try to have something to show the stems on. And I told you guys I was going to come today and we were going to do an antiquing glaze on this pumpkin and finish it out. But then I decided y'all were going to be mad at me if I didn't show you how to do this textured pumpkin. So we are going to start today with just the textured background on a smaller piece. So we're going to do a smaller version of this. And today we're going to do the texture with modeling paste on, this is actually a 6x6. This one is a 12x12, but we are going to do the modeling paste and then we're going to let that dry, and then I'm going to paint that pumpkin, and then we are going to finish both of these together. All right, so let's start with putting the microphone on so that when I sit back down, you'll be able to hear me. And I'll always forget until the last minute, but let's do that real quick. Wiggle, wiggle. We are going to just apply modeling paste to our 6x6 canvas with a handy dandy palette knife. All right, so modeling paste, whatever brand you have. I usually use Liquitex, but right now I'm usually using this brand from Hobby Lobby. It's called Master's Touch, right? You can often get these on sale half price when Master's Touch is having a sale at Hobby Lobby. Anyway, so you're just going to grab up some of your modeling paste on the back of your palette knife and just start kind of in the middle and then just pull it. I like to leave texture and untexture or unmodeling pasted, like little gaps. Like see how there's no modeling paste right there? I'm not going to try to cover every square inch. I want it to be textured and I want it to have some skippies. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, so we're going to go ahead and just apply all. I'm trying not to get it on my freshly manicured nails. Let's see. So you're just going to apply it. Let me go a teeny bit more to your canvas. And then what I like to do if I feel like I don't have enough texture is just kind of slap it. Just take your aggressions out on it. Just kind of slap it around a little. And then you can really lightly run your knife over that texture and just kind of lay it down, right? So we are going to let this dry. And then when we come back, and I'll tell you why I like to do the antiquing on like a textured plaster, because it is going to catch in all of this texture. See all of that texture? It's going to catch in those little divots and it's going to look fantastic. It's going to really look super cool. Now you can texture your edges too if you want. For this demonstration, I'm not. I'm just going to leave it as is. But we're going to let this dry. And once it's dry, we're going to come back and we're just going to straight on paint our pumpkin onto the texture. So I'll see you when this is dry. Okay, guys, we are back. Our plaster is dry, and now we are going to start on our pumpkin. I'm going to freehand this, but and I'm going to explain how I'm doing it along the way because it's literally an egg in 2 parentheses, and I want to encourage you to at least attempt to freehand that yourself as well. Okay, we're going to start with just kind of shaping out our pumpkin with a paintbrush. All right, I'm just going, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to use a little, scooch that up. This is Spice Pumpkin. We're going to use a little Spice Pumpkin to kind of shape our pumpkin shape with a kind of a chunky liner brush, a little bit of depth to it, a little bit of fatness. So keep in mind, we are going to use a stem that we made. I don't know which one we'll use. I have one bacon, but we're going to use a stem. So I'm going to make this a little squattier than normal. All right, so first thing we're going to do, and I want it to be about to here. First thing I'm going to do is create that center little piece, okay? So that's kind of going to be shaped like an egg or a zero, right? So you want it to be a little fatter on the bottom. Let's spread it out a little. And I'm not trying to cover every square inch of that texture, all right? So you're going to make that egg shape, and then you're going to come right close to the top here, and you're going to make a right parentheses. Then you're going to go to the left side, same place, and you're going to make a left parentheses, just like that. And now we have our pumpkin shape. Now, before we move on, I'm going to put a couple of other pieces on my, or not pieces, Lord have mercy, I can't talk, other colors on our palette so we have them all ready before we get started. They're all out and fresh. All right, so this is the shadow color I'm going to use. It's called Heritage Brick. So we'll put a little bit of that. We don't need much. And this is Golden Straw. I don't know if we're using that or not. It feels dry. Oh, it's a little dry. Hang on, we're going to get some of that out. We don't need much. That's pretty dried up, probably because of me. And let me scoot that over. We are going to throw some whites out. Let me just put that over here. And I am also going to throw a little bit of tropical blue on my palette for fun. All right. Let me show you how we're going to do this. All right. So you're going to take your orange and just fill in that center. All right. Let's just fill her in. Again, I'm not trying to cover every square inch of the plaster. I just want to get that orange color on. All right, then I'm going to wipe off my brush. I'm not rinsing, I'm just wiping off. And I am going to grab a little bit of white, kind of smush it in to the orange, and you're going to just come around and just make a little swipe or two. Where this is very fun and whimsical. We're not trying to make a realistic pumpkin. So now I'm wiped that off, come over to the Heritage Brick. We're going to kind of do the same thing. Just make some little swipes. I'm going to wet my brush a little because that yellow is not great. I'm going to grab a little bit of that yellow and just hit it in the middle. Wipe it off. Go back to your orange. Let's do the left side. Fill it in. Wipe that off. Grab a little bit of white on the left side and make yourself, smush it in. Make yourself a few little swoops. Go into your brick. Make a few little swoops there. That's not looking great, but it's okay because we're going to do something else as well. So on this side, we're going to do the same thing. Just use your orange to color that whole section. Wipe off the excess. I'm going to grab a little white, smush it in my brush, and I'm going to come around the left side. Add some of that white. Wipe it off. Right side, Heritage Brick. Now I'm going to wipe all that off, and I'm going to try to come in. I'm going to rinse because I feel like I've messed up my yellow. And get a little bit of water. I'm going to come in with that yellow and just add a smidge of yellow here and there. That's a big icky piece. All right, so now I'm going to hit this just for 3 or 4 seconds with my heat gun. Just get that paint dry. Once it's dry, once that's dry, I'm going to take a palette knife. I'm going to use, let me see, I need a baby one. Where's my baby palette knife? Oh, here it is. I love, these are my branded palette knives from Art Shattered, and I love this little bitty one for small pieces. All right, so here's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to go in, I think I'm going to start with some of the Heritage Brick, and I'm just going to smash it onto the back of my palette knife, and I'm just going, you don't want to like have a ton like that. Take some on your palette knife and just kind of smush it like I'm doing. Just smush, smush, smush. So you have just a little bit, and you're going to run that red along the curve of each section. All right, wipe it off. Now we're going to do the yellow. I'm going to grab some of that yellow, and I'm going to do the same thing. Just add, my yellow's too runny, but I'm going with it. A little bit of that yellow. All right. Don't worry too much about it. Now I'm going to go into just a teeny bit of white. I'm going to get a little bit of white, just a little. Smush most of it off. You just want a little highlight. See how much I have? Hardly anything. And I'm gonna, on the left side, I'm going to hit that white. Smush, smush, smush. Hit that white. All right, last but not least, we're going to throw in some of this blue. You want, start small. See how much? That's hardly any. You can always add more. Once you get it on there, it's going to be hard to take it away. So just get a little bit of that blue, and let's do that center. Perfect. You see how it's just sticking to the high points of the plaster. So the plaster has highs and lows, and the blue is literally just hitting, because you're just kind of like landing an airplane. You're like down and up. You're not scraping. Let me wipe this off and show you. You're not doing this. You're just lightly tickling the surface with that color. See how much? Teeny bit. And I'm going to come here and here. Now we have our pumpkin. We're not going to do a stem because we're going to use a stem that we have created. We're going to let this dry. Matter of fact, I think what we'll do, let's hit it with a heat gun and just keep moving. Keep moving. That is dry. So we're done with painting. Our big one had some green on it, but we are going to, we're going to skip that part for this one. So here are our two. Let me see if you can see them both. Yeah, here are our two pumpkins. We're going to finish this one up first. And I'm going to grab my pumpkin stem. So here's the smaller version of the pumpkin stem that we did. So we're going to use that, but it just occurred to me that I need to paint my pumpkin stem as well. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to grab some burnt umber, traditional burnt umber. And let me grab a brush. This will do. Whoops, one just fell in the floor. But we're just going to use this because it's small. I'm going to take that brown and I am going to cover the entire stem with this dark brown. Now, if you don't know how we made these stems, you're going to need to go back and watch last Wednesday's live. We did several versions of stems. We talked about what you can use and how to create your own stems. So go back and watch that. All right, so I'm going to set this down because I want to take a little napkin and I'm going to wipe off, just really gently wipe off some of that glaze, and then I'll show you what happens. not glaze, it's just paint, straight paint. All right, so what happens now is it settles in the little carving that we put in when we were sculpting it. This is Sculpey clay. So we carved in it with our palette knife and made these little grooves. So now that dark brown is sitting in those grooves. All right, so just for fun, we're going to give it a little extra dimension. I'm going to go into my white and just get the smallest amount of white on my brush. And then I'm just going to add a few little strokes of white here and there just to give it some more color. And the white is going to blend in with that brown. And now you have the cutest little stem. Let's get that dry before we move on. All right. So now we have stems. We have a stem for this one. And we have a stem for this one. Super cute. But what we're going to do today is an antiquing glaze for both of these. All right. So we are going to grab a cup and we're going to mix up our antiquing glaze. And let me grab a stick. And all it is, this is just a little 2-ounce mix and measure. So what I'm going to use is Liquitex Slow-Dri medium. Amazon, Michael's, Hobby Lobby, you should be able to find Liquitex Slow-Dri medium. And what this is going to do is extend the drying time of the brown paint that we are going to use to antique our pumpkin. All right, so I'm going to put about 3/4 of an ounce of this slow medium. That should be plenty. Then I'm going to add brown paint. And then we're going to test it. I'm going to add a little bit at a time. I'm going to squirt in about 1/4's worth. Just squirt a little in. We're going to stir it up. And I can tell already it's still too white, still too translucent, but I want to show you how to test that. I'm going to flip that over. So you're going to put a little bit on something white, a styrofoam plate or something, and you can see that there's really not enough color there. So let's add about the same amount more, about 1/4's worth. This is literally not an exact measurement. You're going to have to just add a teeny bit, do a little test, add a teeny bit, do a little test. So we started with 3/4 of an ounce of Slow-Dri. See how that's getting darker, but it's still not quite there. So let's add a little more. I want to see what the measurement gets to on my cup. All right, let's try it. We don't want it to be super brown. That's almost there, okay? I want a little more because I really want it to pop on these colors. So I'm going to do one more time. Stir her up. We'll do a little test, and then we'll see how much we've added into this cup. So it'll help us know how much to mix. All right, so I'm going to take it. Get a little on my finger, and voila. That's really nice. That's a good mixture. So let me try to figure out. Okay, so we're at 1 ounce. So we had 3/4 of an ounce. I'm going to write that down for myself too. We had 3/4 ounce of Slow-Dri and 1/4 ounce of the brown paint. Okay, so here's what we're going to do next. All right. Excuse me, I can't talk. All right, the first thing I'm going to do at this point is put on some gloves because I got a brand new mani, and I don't want to have a fight getting this glaze off of my hand. So let's glove up. And we are going to use a little scrap of a white t-shirt Paper towel is going to scratch your, it's going to tear on the textured surface, so don't use paper towel. You need a t-shirt or something porous that isn't going to tear easily. Let's do our baby one first. It's going to be easier. So I'm just going to take a brush. I'm going to get some of that. Let me get it in there. We're going to get some of this mixture on our brush, and I am going to just very quickly, you see how dark it is now? I'm going to very quickly scrub that in. You want it all in, all that texture. So just kind of scrub it in. You don't want to do this slow because even though we've added the Slow-Dri, it does dry. If it's hot, it's going to dry faster. Okay, you're going to take your little t-shirt, you're going to tuck in all the ends, have a little nice pad, and you're going to start at the top and pull straight down. Pull straight down, pull straight down, pull straight down. Now what we're doing is removing that top layer of glaze, that top layer of brown, but it's sticking. Let me pat. I like to go in one direction only. And let's pat out. And then you get this, and it really looks nice and antiqued. If you go in both directions, you're going to be pulling that glaze out of those crevices that you had, and it's not going to look as antiqued. I'm going to do a little bit of glaze on that side and wipe it off because we want it to match. A little bit of glaze on that side. We'll wipe it in. A little bit of glaze on that side. Wipe it in. And last but not least, a little bit of glaze on that side, and then we are going to let this dry. This is going to take several hours to dry, so we're going to do the glazing on these, and then next week when I'm back in town, we are going to finish them, okay? So there's that one. Now this one's going to take a little more effort, and it's really warm in here, so I'm going to have to work really fast, all right? So I am going to dip in. I'm going to start here and try to get my painted area covered first. And then we're going to scrub. Okay, you want it in all that texture. So you're going to need to scrub it in. Because just painting it like this, you're going to have little divots where it's not going into the texture. So you want to be a little aggressive and go quick. Because here's what happens a lot. If you go slow, it's going to start to grab and it's going to start to stick and you're not going to be able to wipe it off. Then your art is going to be super dark and you're going to be so upset about that. All right. So I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to move my pad around a little. I'm going to start on the outside where it's white. And I'm going to pull down. I want that to come off first. All right. I'm going to squish around. Now I'm going to come all the way through my orange. And I'm putting a good bit of pressure on. But I'm also, if you notice, I'm still moving in one direction. I got to keep turning because there was a lot of glaze on there. So I'm trying to find a dry spot. I should have had a bigger piece. I'm going to work that white area first because it's hotter than the dickens in here, which makes it dry faster. All right, now let's get that pumpkin. I'm going to come down here in this grass. And then what you can do, instead of scrubbing up and down to keep the glaze in all this texture, you can just kind of, if you need to, if you feel like you need to manipulate a little more, just kind of pat and scrub like in a little circle. Don't go back up because then you're pulling all that glaze out. All right, now we're going to do our edges because we don't want them to be icky. So same thing, I'm just going to scrub a little in and then just smear it so you have a nice edge. So I'm going to do that to all 4 sides. Just take your old icky brush, scrub that edge. Try not to get any back on the top. And if your little t-shirt is as saturated as mine, you probably don't even have to scrub any in. You can probably just use your t-shirt. All right, one more side. A little ick on the brush, a little leftover antiquing glaze. And voila, all our sides are done. Everything looks great. Now this is going to take a while to dry. So we're just gonna leave these to dry. And next Wednesday, we're gonna come back and we are going to add our stems. We are going to add some glass, maybe a little green at the bottom, some glass on the sides, and then we're gonna have some beautiful pumpkins to share. So I will see you next week.